Hey guys, what's going on? I just wanted to do this quick reaction video to the Oscar nominations. At around 8 a.m. this morning, maybe 8:15 Eastern time, I was up and ready to watch the live stream of the Oscar nominees announcement. And every year this is what I do, but it felt kind of weird this time because, as we all know, 2020 was a little weird when it came to movies in general because of the pandemic. Theaters were closed and Hollywood was mostly shut down for the most part, and there weren't a lot of movies that came out. A lot of the major movies were pushed into either this year or the following year or what have you. And you know out of all the movies that were recognized, with the exception of two, I believe, Onward and Tenet, correct me if I'm wrong, but the other movies that were recognized were only available on streaming platforms. So this year definitely felt like a year for streaming, and Netflix was definitely recognized with a lot of their offerings there. But some other movies that were recognized were, for most of the year last year, were only available if you were able to catch them through one of the movie festivals that were streaming online. So, with like examples like Nomadland, and even up to now, Minari. You can only see Minari through the A24 website, or with the sample of like Nomadland, you can only see it during one of the movie festivals during that time of month it was available for that streaming service or whatever service that they were using. So it was definitely a weird time, and it definitely felt like this was one of the years where I didn't really have a chance to watch a lot of the movies. Now, you would think pandemic wise and all that, I would have been able to watch a lot more. But, like I said, with a lot of these movies being very spread around and so somewhat scarce, I really didn't have a chance to watch a lot of the movies that were recognized until much later in the year or this year, because they started rolling out onto platforms like HBO Max, Amazon Prime, Netflix, what have you. So it's a little bit more easily accessible and all that. But enough of all that. Still was fun to watch this morning. So just my initial thoughts here. Like I said, a lot of, towards the end of last year, the biggest movies that were talked about were Nomadland, Minari, Judas and the Black Messiah, The Trial of the Chicago 7, and Promising Young Woman, and they definitely represented the majority and bulk of the Oscar nominations. Along with that, you have Mank being heavily recognized through a lot of the categories there. So that was really interesting to see. I saw a good portion of these movies. I think the only one I didn't get to see was Promising Young Woman yet. So I would definitely say a lot of these movies do deserve a lot of the recognition. However, The Trial of Chicago 7 has been getting a lot of flack, especially with comparisons when you compare it to other similar movies like Mangrove, part of Steve McQueen's Small Axe series on Amazon, which I personally think was a much better movie than Trial of the Chicago 7. So you could definitely tell, like, with Aaron Sorkin behind it, and it's one of the main reasons why that is definitely getting more of the push in Hollywood. So very interesting to see how that's all going to play out. So interesting time there. One of the biggest things that I was laughing out loud with while watching this morning's presentation was every time Borat 2's full movie title was announced, to just hear them say the full title, and I'm not gonna say it for you right now because it's really long, but you can see the presentation. Sacha Baron Cohen is laughing out loud, and his comedic genius is really displaying in full form here. Interesting to see that at least Borat 2 got some recognition in some categories. Nothing under Best Picture or even Best Actor, Sasha himself was nominated for Trial and not for Borat 2. So interesting to see there. But it was nice to see Maria getting nominated for actress there. I believe she was nominated for supporting actress, Maria Baklova. Her performance in that movie was stellar, and she stole the movie. She was really the main part of the movie there. So really, really happy to see her being recognized there. This is the first time I would honestly say that there was really great and decent representation across all the major categories. A lot of recognition for all different actors and actresses, all different genres of film. So really, really nice to finally see that starting to come into fruition. We're still a long ways yet, but it was definitely really nice to see great Black representation, great Asian representation, which is phenomenal. Some of which is like, for example, Steven Yeun. Huge shout out to him for being the first Asian American actor to be nominated for Best Actor, and Riz Ahmed for being the first Muslim to be recognized and nominated for Best Actor in that same category too. So really, really great to see that. A little confused as to why both Lakeith Stanfield and Daniel Kaluuya was nominated for supporting actor. They're definitely the main co-leads of Judas and the Black Messiah. I do feel like Lakeith was the main actor there, so really interesting to see that he wasn't nominated for Best Actor. So very, very confused about that there. And like I said, with Riz Ahmed getting nominated for Best Actor, and Paul Radke for being nominated for Supporting Actor, the fact that he has that disability of not being able to really hear and all that, and he was getting recognized for his performance. It was just really nice to see Sound of Metal getting recognized in a lot of the categories there, because that was definitely one of my favorite movies of last year that I saw. But with all that being said, I gotta say, some of the biggest disappointments and snubs here. When 2020 came around and, the movie season was in full effect and all that, one of the most talked about movies, even once the pandemic hit and the movie was finally available for streaming, for at least 2 or 3 months within the pandemic when it started, the most talked about movie was Invisible Man. So I was really shocked to see that Invisible Man was not recognized in anything. But even more shocking for me was not recognizing Elizabeth Moss for her portrayal in that movie for Best Actress. Because if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. And if you have not, her performance in that movie was amazing. And like I said, it was what everyone was talking about for a very long time, at least for the first half of last year. Many people were already considering her to be nominated for Best Actress, especially since the pandemic was in full swing. There wasn't a lot of competition because of the lack of movies and all that. So unfortunately, it does feel like a lot of the nominations or the nominees and the voting behind it was all due to things that we're seeing recently, so as often happens, anything that is released earlier in the year usually gets ignored or forgotten, to be honest. So it was really disappointing to see that she wasn't even recognized at all. And one of the other performances that really stole the show for me of last year was Delroy Lindo. Where was he? I know The Five Bloods was, mixed reviews there. I mean, I personally enjoyed the movie. I thought it was one of the better movies that came out last year on Netflix there. But it was Delroy's performance that was phenomenal, and I was blown away by it, and I was really, really shocked to see that he wasn't being recognized for that performance there. So really, really disappointing there. And along with that, Spike Lee didn't get recognized for The Five Bloods there. Really, really interesting to see. No nominations for Nolan, Christopher Nolan, one of the biggest mouths of last year when it came to movies, especially movies being released in cinema. So no nominations for him, and Tenet wasn't recognized for Best Picture. It was recognized for sound and for I believe visual effects, which I'm not surprised by that. I believe it was also recognized for best production design, which again I'm not really that surprised about. Eurovision, the Icelandic comedy starring Will Ferrell and Rachel McAdams, they got a nomination for best song for Husavik. So that was really surprising to see, and I was kind of laughing at that, and I literally yelled out loud when I heard that nominee being read out. So really, really interesting to see there. Correction on the Tenet. Tenet was nominated for Best Visual Effects, along with Best Production Design. And that's pretty much it from rereading the nominees here. So disappointing turnout for Tenet there. And like I said, visual effects I'm not surprised at. Production design, okay, I can kind of see that. But yeah, really, really interesting to see such a poor showing of Tenet. So I am very curious to see Nolan's reaction this morning. Again, Mr. Theater Cinema there, and how much he was really, really pushing for his movie to only be shown in theaters, and all that. So really interesting stuff there. And some other movies that I'm surprised didn't get some sort of recognition, because again, just the amount of talk that they had all throughout last year. King of Staten Island, a very well received movie that came out last year on streaming there, especially for the performances from Pete Davidson and Bill Burr, and obviously the direction of Judd Apatow. So really, really interesting. Again, that was one of those movies that a lot of people were talking about last year when it came out. Hamilton. Hamilton, a lot of people were saying that Hamilton was the savior of the summer. When that finally came out on Disney Plus, everyone was talking about it for the next couple of months after that. So really, really shocked to see that, Hamilton was not recognized at all, not even, at least in score or song, So, I know that there was a debate that Hamilton is not really a movie. It was more of like a filmed stage production and all that. But I'm pretty certain that if this, because remember, it was planned to be released in theaters. So I do wonder if this was something of a normal year and this was released in theaters, and when you saw box office and all that, if then it would have been considered somehow, somewhere along the nominees there. So kind of surprising there. Palm Springs, again, another movie that was making a lot of noise last year when it came out over there on Hulu, because one, it was one of the highest pickups from, I believe, Sundance, when Hulu acquired the rights to the license for the movie and when they released it on their streaming platform there. So, and again, a lot of people were praising this movie too. It was very well received. So no recognition for Palm Springs, and like I mentioned before, no noms for Small Axe, for any of the Small Axe movies there. The Steve McQueen movies series that came out on Amazon Prime, especially with Mangrove, and how much I thought Mangrove was a stellar movie with a lot of stellar performances in there. And if you were to compare it to a movie like The Trial of the Chicago 7, definitely a better movie in my opinion. It was a lot more gut-wrenching and very, very emotional and poignant movie. So really, really surprised none of that was recognized, especially when you compare things to how they played out in the Golden Globes. You definitely did see a little bit more recognition for some of these movies and some of the things that I mentioned there. So really interesting stuff there. I think overall, most of the categories are pretty much said and done. I'm not going to give my any of our predictions yet. We still have pretty much a little bit over a month to go before the Oscars are shown there, and are the winners are announced. So I still have some movies I need to catch up on, and some that I'm definitely going to be rewatching. But I will say, I think one of the tighter categories is for best original screenplay. Like, when they were when they were naming out the nominees, I was like, I don't know where this is going to go, because again, every one of them is well deserving. You have Judas and the Black Messiah, Minari, Promising Young Woman, Sound of Metal, The Trial of the Chicago 7. Aaron Sorkin's name is definitely high up on that list because of his, status in Hollywood and, all the stuff that he's done. But if you've watched a lot of these movies, and again, I haven't seen Promising Young Woman yet, that's one of the movies I'm planning to watch this month. But I've heard nothing but great things about it. Any one of these could take this category, to be honest. So, and I feel like there are certain other categories where it's very tight in that way. So really interesting to see how that's going to play out. Also, I do have to say again, talking about representation, Minari. I have to talk about Minari. I was happy to see that it was nominated for Best Picture and not International Film, because it is a film that was made and filmed here in the United States, even though majority of the dialogue is in Korean. So it's a unique movie in itself for a Best Picture film to be all in a different language, in a different spoken language. It was it's not the first time we've seen this, obviously, but again, speaking of representation, a full Asian cast being recognized there for that movie, along with an Asian director attached to it. So really happy to see that. That was definitely a great movie. I was so happy to see it about a month ago when A24 started screening it on their website. Definitely a movie to catch. Very well done and very touching. Kind of coming of age type of movie there. So what are your thoughts, movie fans out there? Are you happy with the results? Is this pretty much what you expected, especially if you've been following the awards season, having the Golden Globes, the BAFTA stuff, all that happening before these nominees were announced? Were there any other snubs that I missed? I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it. I mean, those were just some of the things that stood out to me. But yeah, leave your thoughts, comments, questions in the comments section there. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe buttons, guys. Really appreciate it. Again, really trying to get the channel up to 500 subscriptions. So let's grow this community and this channel. And I will catch you all in the next video. Later.